Hi everybody, it's Megan from Crazy Fluid Art and welcome to my how not to blow video. Before I get started though, I'd like to continue with my acknowledgement to country. So I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I create on, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past, present and those emerging. As I say, it is just my absolute privilege to be able to create on their land. So today's video is all about how not to bloom. I'm going to show you my first videos of me blooming, and they are just full of error on how I blow. So I'm hoping that by the end of this video, you have an appreciation on what not to do when doing a blow on a bloom. I learnt the hard way. Took me a while to kind of get that you just can't and everything just magically happens. Massive thank you to Lisa Marvin. She has a video on how to blow, and that changed everything for me, and I will certainly show you at the end of this video. I think I've got 3 or 5 coasters of how not to bloom, and at the very end I will show you a video on how I bloom. Obviously the way I bloom is going to be different to the way Lisa blooms and the way somebody else is blooming, but it's the way that works for me and the technique that I find works the best for how I blow. It feels very weird talking about how we blow, but it's a technique that's really important. And as I said, I don't know how long it took me to work out that what I was doing was really bad and really wrong. And I don't mind showing you my faults and my bad blows if that's only going to help you improve on your blooming and your blowing technique, because I feel like we can only learn from our faults and from sharing our faults with other people. So sit back, have a laugh, and hopefully learn from what you're about to see from my mistakes.
So shall we let the fun begin? So this is one of my very first blooms that I did about 2 years ago. I've titled this the no control blow. One of the really important things that I have learnt while blooming is that you do need to be able to control the direction that your paint's going in. If you don't blow with some form of control, what will happen, like in this bloom that you will soon see, is that your paint just goes everywhere and anywhere, and you usually end up blowing away your cell activator, or you blow too hard and it ends up the pillow paint coming right through and you lose all your colour. So in this particular bloom, when I blow, I lose all my cell activator. I end up with very little cells, and it's just an absolute mess. So these were some real coasters that I was making. I can't remember what I actually did with them, and the fact that I'm going back and looking at this video from 2 years ago, I'm going, oh my goodness, I can't believe I actually think I kept this. I think maybe I did sell them, but I don't know. It's just an absolute debacle, and I don't even like the colour combination. So I'm just going to centre the paint now. You always want to make sure your paint's centred before you blow on it. So that's what I'm just doing now, manipulating it around, and then watch the blow happen. It just it goes everywhere. So I've basically, I've blown in the one spot and I've pushed it out. So yes, I'm controlling the paint in a way, but I'm actually not controlling my cell activator, and that's the problem in this, is I'm basically blowing my paint and I'm not blowing my cell activator. So usually when you blow, right now I would have had cells in that beautiful middle where all that grey is. But there is very little there. There's this blob of cell activator that's just been left in the middle. The paint's all been smudged out, and don't get me wrong, some of that paint that I've blown, it actually does look great, but there's no cells. Like, I reckon I could probably count the cells that I can see on 2 hands. Like, I think there's less than 10 there. So I'm standing here right now going, okay, how do I fix this? Oh, well, I'll just spit it out because that fixes everything. But it doesn't. Spitting your paint and your blooms doesn't create a cell. So here I am, I'm blowing more. And you see, I just blow way too hard and the paint goes everywhere and the cell activator just basically disappears and doesn't create cells because I've just had no control over it and I have just blown absolutely everywhere. And this is the product that we get left with. It's kind of sad, but that's just how it is. So the really important thing, and I will show you this in the last 2 videos that I put on here, is that you really do need to think about where you want your paint to go, how you want to blow it, because you want to guide your cell activator with your paint. You don't want your cell activator being left behind. So that is a bit of a technique thing. So my advice would be to get a couple of tiles and just play around, practice and practice and practice until you find the technique that works for you. So this is pretty much the end of this tile, and to be honest, I can't believe I haven't scraped it and started again. So now we move on to my next problem that I had when I first started blowing, and this is what I have called the half blow. So the other really important thing when you're blowing out your blooms is that you want to start from the middle and you want to expand from the middle out. So if you blow from a half point, you're going to end up spreading that cell activator up one half of the coaster, leaving the other half of the coaster without any cell activator and any cells. And then you're basically doing very similar to what I've done in the first bloom, is that you're ended up just blowing your paint colors around. So it's really important to start central, and obviously you've got a small area, but I really like to be able to see where I'm blowing. So I've practiced and practiced making sure that I can aim around that center point where I'm putting that cell activator. So as you watch here, when I go and blow, you'll see exactly where that half blow end starts. See, I've pretty much got a straight line of cell activator. So here I am blowing my top half of the cell activator around, and now I've gone to the other half and there's no cell activator for me to blow and guide over the paint. So I've got a few cells happening there from the middle and out on the bottom half facing me, but then the other half has nothing. So again, I'm spinning it out, hoping that it's just going to spread it out, but it doesn't. So I've got one half with cells, one half with paint and no cells. So it's really important to guide your blow from the center and blow it out. So I start off by blowing up, and then I start guiding my paint out, which you'll see in the last 2 coasters that I do. And so this is the final mistake that I would constantly make when learning how to do blooms. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of other mistakes that you can make, but these are the 3 common ones that I constantly did until I watched some more YouTube videos and until I practiced and practiced and practiced. So I have a pile of spare tiles that I use now for my jewelry making and my skin making, which I have silicone mats on top. This will be a video down the track on how I make my jewelry through skins. So now they were all my practice pieces, and I would spend one day just practicing how to blow and learning different techniques that work for me, because everyone's blow is different, everyone's breath is different, and the way that you can control your breath is different. But it's really important for you to work out what works for you as a breathing technique. As a runner, I very much learned how to breathe and control my breathing so that I can run long distance. So I think that's kind of helped me in this instance for practicing my blooms. But it just comes down to technique, and you'll only get your technique right by continually practicing your skill. So as you see here, I've put my cell activator on, and now we're going to get ready to blow. So my head's a little bit too far away, and my paint just goes everywhere. So I've blown what I feel is too far and too fast. So when I blow, I like to control where that paint's going, and I think that's really important. So as you see here, I've just blown way too far, and again, I've got a paint mess. No cells. Where are my cells? I can't see a single cell in this. Yes, my camera is a little bit far away and I'm hoping I'll pick it up and show you all, but it's got a very small amount of cells. And I used a purple pillow in this practice piece and it's all pillow paint. Where are my colours? Like, I've got that tiny corner there and probably, again, less than 10 cells. So that's blowing from too hard and too far away. So now we're going to get onto a good bloom. So what I like to do is I've got my Fluid Art non-slip silicone mat that I've cut to size and put in my spinner, which I've just brought from a local convenience store. I whack a little bit of paint on and then a non-slip little mat that I've cut to size. Yep, get paint everywhere. Gloves are important. And then I use that to secure my tile. So this is how I make my jewelry skins, as I mentioned earlier. So a little bit of paint on the back of the silicone mat, that gets secured onto my tile. And this is me getting ready to make some jewelry skins because I'm running out of skins to cut. So I've put my pillow down. Always spread your pillow out to roughly the shape of the tile that you're using. So I always use square tiles. So I always spread it out because that just helps your paint move. Excuse me. And then put a little bit more in the center as your pillow. So then we'll layer her up. Again, this is not about layering. This is not about colors. This is all about technique for blowing. So we'll just quickly go through the color layering and then we'll just get on to the blooming. So our colors are all pretty much layered up. We've just sped through this just for speed. We're adding our cell activator on now, and so now we're going to show you how I find blooming works for me. So as I said, it's going to be different. So I start in the center and then I slowly move my head up, but as I'm moving my head up, you can see I'm just slightly shaking my head. So I'm trying to guide that cell activator over my paint as I move it through my tile. And now I'm starting to spread it out to those corners, covering all that pillow paint. What you see as you're doing this is you'll see your cells starting to develop, which is a really cool thing to be able to watch. So I'm just guiding it over. I've probably left a corner, haven't really blown it centrally. So I've left a little bit of a corner, as you'll see here as I lift it up. So because the paint's quite mobile, you can kind of guide it and move it around, which I do here without trying to lose my tile. That's happened many a time. So I'm just going to let it sit for a few minutes just to allow the paint to gather back into the center, and then we give it a spin. And so this now, because I've guided my cell activator over my colors, the cell activator now is all over everything. So I should have some really good cells right through my tile. That's the whole idea for blooming for me, is I like to have cells pretty much everywhere. Rather than having blobs of paint. There is a little bit, I think, here that has a bit of paint on there, but you'll see from those first 3 coasters that I've just done for you compared to this coaster, a massive difference, and it's all in how you control your blowing. So there we go. I mean, that is a massive difference in there. The final bloom, which is about to come up next, is even better. This is just an absolutely gorgeous coaster when it's finished. So we're just going to smash on through the color layering, because as I said earlier, this is not about colors, it's not about layering, it's all about the blowing technique. So again, I pretty much am consistent in the way that I blow. So I start off about 4 to 5 centimeters away from my coaster and I blow kind of like this. That's the sound I pretty much make when I blow. So it's a, and then I'm moving my head backwards. It's not a hard blow that I did in my first coaster. It's just a nice, gentle, guiding blow. So here we go again. So again, you'll see that my head's moving back slightly. I'm shaking my head around as I guide that paint everywhere and that cell activator everywhere, doing a quite slight turn of my Lazy Susan to get the paint everywhere. And look at those cells, and that's just from a nice gentle blowing and just moving my head around. For me, this is how I blow, as you're going to find your own way that works for you to get the cells that you want, and it will also develop on the ingredients and where you're at and the type of paint you are using. I'm in Australia, so I've got some really lovely paints, and I'm still using the old recipe with the Taubmans at the moment because I managed to score a fair few tins of Taubmans. But you can just see on this coaster the difference, and it's all in how I've blown. So like usual with any YouTube video, I hope I've given you a good laugh. I hope I've shown you a few things to try and not try. If you've been enjoying this, please don't forget to like, comment, and even an added bonus to subscribe so you can catch up with all my future YouTube videos. This is very new. This is video number 3. So it's still a process for me, but I would love to hear all your feedback. And look at that beautiful thing. Look at all those cells. Look how gorgeous that coaster is. I hope you've enjoyed. Have a great day. Keep creating, and I can't wait to hear from you all.